Today I'm going to show you what I did to the next step of the Bible study. So you'll see on my screen that I'm on BibleGateway.com, which is my go-to place for looking up verses. And as you can see at the top is the passage, Deuteronomy chapters 1 through 5. It keeps going down. Now something I want you to notice is, say for chapter 2, here's the 2. And you have your first verse and then verse 2. Notice it doesn't have verse number 1 listed. It just doesn't do that. Chapter 3 is the same way. And so sometimes when you copy and paste, you just have to remember that, if there's a 2 before it is usually the chapter number, not the verse number. Okay, so now we're going to go over to Microsoft Word. And I have my document where I've pasted all of the stuff from the website. And so we're in Deuteronomy chapter 1. And what I've done is I've color-coded the talking points of these passages here. So when we look at here, yellow is where it says Moses is speaking. The light green is where the Lord is speaking. The blue is where the Israelites answered or responded to Moses. And there's also gray where I kind of highlight their actions, especially when they did wrong, when they responded incorrectly or poorly to what they were told. Now, I went through this document 3 times. The first time I went through it, I just marked up anytime it said someone spoke. So these are the words that Moses spoke to all. This is what the Lord said, how you answered me. So I went through my first pass with that. My second pass, I came back through here and marked any section where it didn't say someone new was speaking, but the previous one had finished talking. An easy example of that would be, I'm scrolling down, like right here. Then we turned and journeyed into the wilderness of the direction of the Red Sea, as the Lord told me. So that's where the Lord was speaking. But then it goes back to Moses speaking. And for many days we traveled around Mount Seir. And so there's a few examples there. Like here, the Lord said to me. So everything after one of these highlighted sections, and the Lord spoke to me, is where the Lord is speaking. I just didn't want to highlight the entire thing. I could have. That might have made it a little bit easier to see. And you're welcome to do this on your own, or instead of just the introductory part of where they're speaking, do the entire section. You can have this, this entire section could be blue. This entire section could be yellow, and that would help make distinct who is speaking at any given point. I just chose to only highlight the transitions of where people are speaking, where one person is starting to speak. So, and like I said, the gray is where the Israelites are responding in action. I just thought that was a way to show some contrast. And so I will link in the show notes at a place where you can download this. I'll probably put this up on Google Documents so anyone can see it and even download it to add to it. But as you can see, we have, there's a lot of transitions. Now, to help you better understand what is going on in these first 5 chapters, and remember, I'm focusing on the first 5 chapters because context drives meaning, and I want to understand what chapter 6, especially the first dozen or so verses, mean, and what they don't mean. And so, to be thorough, I'm reading from the beginning of the book of Deuteronomy all the way up to chapter 6. But I'm spending most of my time in the first 5 chapters to see what leads to the actions and activities in chapter 6. Now, as I'm scrolling down, you'll see that I'm just highlighting where, here's 2 times where it says, I commanded you. That's Moses speaking, so both these are yellow. It's part of my first pass. I pleaded. The Lord said to me. Now this is part of my second pass, so we remained. So this is all the Lord speaking. This is Moses speaking and following. Okay. And so as we go down, we just see he's now, all right, so here's the takeaway for all of what I'm showing you. First, what I'm going to do next is to treat this like a movie script. I don't know if you've ever read a play. Maybe if you've read Shakespeare or you've downloaded a script of a movie, kind of what you call a tabbed view. On the left side, you'll have whoever's speaking, and on the right side of the page, it'll be their words, and the actions are usually either in brackets or they're centered. And so that's what I'm going to do next. And so my next video is going to have all that separated out, because here's the takeaway. You've been in here with me for 5 minutes, so let me give you the takeaway of all of this. These first 5 chapters of Deuteronomy, they're a little bit hard to really follow, because this is Moses relaying what happened. And so it's a lot of him saying what he said in the past and what the Lord said in the past and how people responded to that. And so it gets a little confusing at points. So the whole point of this is to separate this out and see what it says about God, what it says about the people that God's talking to. And so that's where we're heading ultimately next. And once we have that, then we'll be ready to jump into chapter 6.